Welcome to The Explainer. We're about to jump into a huge idea from Buddhist philosophy, one that tries to answer one of the biggest questions we can ask ourselves.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Every single experience you've ever had, every word you've said, every little thought that's flickered through your mind, where does it all go? This isn't just a shower thought. It's a question that has kept philosophers up at night for centuries.
Today, we're going to explore a really fascinating answer that comes from the Yogacara school of Buddhism. Here's our roadmap. We'll start with this idea of a deep storehouse in the mind. Then we'll hit a major philosophical contradiction, uncover the solution with something called karmic seeds, explore our own innate potential, and finally bring it all home and see why any of this ancient wisdom matters to us today.
All right, let's dive right into this foundational concept. And I gotta say, it's a pretty radical way of thinking about how our own minds are put together.
So imagine for a moment a layer of your consciousness that's way, way deeper than your day-to-day thoughts and feelings. Think of it like a massive silent vault that holds the energetic imprint of every single thing you've ever done, said, or even intended throughout your entire existence.
Now, this idea has a name. In Sanskrit, it's called the Alaya Vijnana, which translates to the storehouse consciousness. In this system, it's considered the eighth and most fundamental level of our mind. It's the bedrock that holds all the karmic seeds, which eventually sprout into our experiences, literally shaping the reality we live in from the ground up.
Okay, but this powerful idea of a storehouse consciousness, well, it also creates a huge philosophical puzzle, a real head-scratcher.
And this is the giant contradiction that critics have pointed out for ages. If this storehouse is basically packed with all the karmic baggage that keeps us stuck in cycles of suffering, how on earth could that very same place also be our ticket to freedom and enlightenment? It seems impossible, right?
And this slide lays out the problem perfectly. On the one hand, you have this storehouse consciousness that keeps the cycle of suffering going. But on the other hand, the exact same ancient texts claim it's the foundation for attaining nirvana, for total liberation. How can one source possibly lead to two totally opposite results?
Well, the Yogacara school's answer to this puzzle is honestly just beautiful. It's so elegant. They don't ignore the contradiction. They solve it by taking a closer look at what's actually inside the storehouse.
See, it all comes down to this idea of seeds. These aren't literal seeds, of course. They're more like latent potentials, or little packets of energy left behind by our actions. And the big insight here is that not all seeds are the same. And this is the key to the whole thing. The storehouse has two completely different kinds of seeds. You've got the newly perfumed seeds. These are the ones we plant every single day with our thoughts and actions. They're what fuel our ordinary, often troubled experience. But, and this is a huge but, there are also innate seeds. These have supposedly been there forever, since beginningless time. We didn't create them. They are a fundamental part of consciousness itself.
And it's in those innate seeds, the ones that are just part of the factory setting, so to speak, that we find the absolute guarantee for freedom. This right here is where the theory becomes incredibly hopeful.
The entire argument really pivots on this one ancient verse from a very important text. This little stanza holds the entire key to solving that big contradiction we were just talking about.
See how it works? The logic is laid out right there. The verse says that this fundamental realm of consciousness is the basis for everything. It doesn't say there's one source for suffering and a different one for freedom. No, it explicitly says that from this single source, you get both all destinies, that's our suffering, and the attainment of nirvana. The potential for both has to exist together, right from the start.
So this is the ultimate answer to the puzzle. The existence of what they call innately existing pure seeds. These are untainted, pure potentials for wisdom and clarity that are just an inherent, natural part of our consciousness. They're not something we have to build or earn. They're already there, just waiting.
Now think about what this really means. It means our potential for enlightenment isn't some random chance. It doesn't depend on us having enough good karma points. It is a built-in, indestructible part of our very nature. So unlike the seeds of suffering which we create ourselves, this pure potential can never be destroyed. It can only be covered up for a while.
Okay, so that's a lot of ancient philosophy. Why should any of this matter to us in our crazy modern lives? Well, the implications are actually incredibly practical and, I think, really empowering.
Let's break it down. First, this gives us a powerful reason to believe that every single one of us has an inherent, indestructible potential for goodness and positive change. Second, it shows us that our minds aren't fixed things. They're more like dynamic gardens where we're constantly planting and watering different seeds with our actions. And finally, it suggests that real growth isn't about becoming some new, better person. It's about waking up the amazing potential that's already and has always been right there inside you.
So this whole ancient debate really leaves us with a pretty deep and personal question. If this theory is true, it means there's a vast untapped capacity for wisdom, compassion, and freedom waiting inside each of us. So the question is, what innate potential lies dormant in your own mind's storehouse?